Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. So what could special sessions or a special session look like? We're joined today by two leaders from the Capitol, the Senate President, Martin Looney. He is a Democrat, and the House Minority Leader, Themis Claridis, a Republican. Thanks so much for being with us here today.
Good to be with you.
Senator, I'll begin with you because there is some criticism by some voters who are saying, like, why couldn't they get this done during the regular session?
Well, it's part of it's our process that we go through a committee structure. Many bills have to go through more than one committee, so they get vetted through an original committee. There may be overlapping cognizance with another committee. So by the time bills get lined up on the calendar of either the House or Senate, it's relatively late in the session. And then usually the House will take up House bills first to get them to the Senate. Senate will take up Senate bills first. So there's usually a crunch in the last several days of trying to take up bills that have come from the other chamber.
Your fellow Republican, Heather Summers, was in the program last week, and she said, yeah, we should be able to fit it all in during a special session. Do you agree with that?
Of course we should. I mean, there are certainly times when special session is necessary if different issues came up. I know a couple of years ago we had to fix the hospital tax deal in the bipartisan budget, but this is just ridiculous this year. We've had 5 months. The Senator's right, we do have a process, but that process, no question, can have been worked through by the first week of June. The reality is we're going to do things because things could not get done in the amount of time we're supposed to do them. It was irresponsible to not get it done. And you know, in one way, we're doing the bond bill and the school construction bill. That's going to be quickly done in a way, but the governors are going to call us into special session to try and get tolls done. And the reason why tolls have not passed is because the people of the state do not want them. They've told their elected officials, we do not want them. There are other ways to do this. So you shouldn't go into special session that pay taxpayer dollars just to try and convince people to do something they don't want to do.
And Senator, how do you respond to that argument that people don't want them?
Well, I think it depends on how the question is asked. If people are asked the question about, do you want tolls in isolation, they say no. But if they said if you want tolls and the money will be guaranteed to go through transportation purposes, then it's a much closer question. People are generally more supportive when they know that there's a lockbox that money would have to go into, and also there are federal constraints on using toll revenue for any other purpose other than transportation. Also, to the minority leader's earlier point, I mean, we could guarantee that everything would get done if we wanted to violate our long tradition of allowing extended and unlimited debate. I mean, if the majority started calling the question on bills to cut off debate, we could make sure that everything gets done, but that would have other consequences, and that's one of the reasons that the minority has a big role in the last several days in deciding which bills to talk at great length.
What is this special session going to cost taxpayers?
Well, I don't know the exact dollar amount, but I mean, to the Senator's comment, that's really very unfair because the majority is the majority, right? They have the votes. They can pass anything they want. And the reality of what happened this year is in a 5-month session, the last 10 days, the biggest, most controversial, most costly bills in the state of Connecticut's history got called day after day after day. That could have been done months ago. It could have easily been done in May. And so the minority only has the ability to speak on bills and ask questions and try and slow that process down. So to say that if we just gave up our ability and our right to speak, then things could go faster is so irresponsible. And I will tell you this about tolls. All you need to know about why you cannot trust tolls in this state is the fact in the budget that was passed this week swept the Special Transportation Fund $171 million. And they will tell you it's not swept, it's diverted, or it's transferred, or it's moved to another account. Reality is 2 years ago, we all agreed on a bipartisan budget that money was going into special transportation, and now it's not.
Senator, these special sessions, will there be one? Will there be more than one? And how long will they last?
Well, first of all, the governor will probably call us into session on the issue of transportation or tolls. We have called ourselves in for a special session to deal with the Bond Act and the school construction bill. But, to the minority leader's point, we did pass the most important bill of the session, that is the budget, on time. No special session on the budget. And regarding transportation, we have actually putting more and more sales tax revenue into the Special Transportation Fund over recent years, putting 0.5% of the property tax in there, and also more funds. So there has been actually a general fund subsidy of transportation. One of our problems is that our main driver for revenue for the Special Transportation Fund, the gasoline tax, projects to be flat in the future because part of it is a good reason. People are buying more efficient cars, electric cars, and hybrid cars, and that is not going to be an adequate source of revenue for transportation needs in the future unless we were to really spike up the gas tax by 50 cents or more.
You are the majority. Do you have the votes in your caucus to pass tolls?
Well, we are. It's a very close question, but I think we're close to being there.
Do you have any Democrats who will join Republicans and oppose them, you think?
I don't know. I've heard that some might. I can't really speak on behalf of the other party, but I will say this, that this notion that there's more money going in special transportation fund, that's like saying you went to the bank and you stuck a gun in the teller's face and said, either hand over all your money or, you know, I'm not really robbing the bank, I'm just holding a gun to your head and I just want you to transfer the funds to my account. There's money being taken out of that account. Over $500 million is supposed to be transferred into special transportation fund, and just 3 days ago that money was taken out in the budget they passed. You cannot say, I need to put tolls in so I can stick my hand in your pocket just one more time when they've taken money out of the account just this week in a budget. It's not fair, and it's really not, it's not honest.
How do you feel about this new talk now? Mayor Ganim would like to have a casino in Bridgeport. How do Republicans feel about that?
You know, I think we all feel similarly in one way, that this was a bill that we all got Tuesday night, I think.
Right.
And there's so much in it. I mean, this is not just about a casino in Bridgeport. This is about internet gaming. This is about what our casinos, our Indian casinos in Connecticut may or may not get in regards to that. I think this is something we all need to pass, but I think it's something we all need to sit down and figure out, because it's not just that. I mean, in this particular bill, I know New Haven was affected in regards to it, and there was an issue there, but that's not something that could be done in 24 hours.
Do you think that this will come up in a special session or not tabled till next year?
Well, that's too soon to tell on that, but I agree that it certainly was not something that could be done when it first emerged as a matter of discussion on the night before the end. There's so much to be discussed in that. First of all, the amount of state investment that was being asked for there was $100 million. The idea of how it would relate to sports gambling and all the other questions that are ancillary to the casino itself, none of those were answerable at that point. So to the extent that it continues to percolate along and result in a special session, that part we can't tell yet.
And perhaps a broader answer, do you support a casino in Bridgeport?
Well, depending on what the contingencies are. Obviously, there'd have to be revenue sharing with other municipalities, including New Haven. There'd have to be, I think, an adjustment downward of the amount of state investment and an adjustment upward in the amount the tribes themselves are putting in. There are a lot of questions there.
So it's a possibility. Do you support it? Or?
I mean, I agree with the Senator in regards to that. I mean, this could look a million different ways, and we have to see how all the pieces fit together. But I think before we even address any of that, I mean, the fact that this budget passed with $1.7 billion tax increase, spending more than we ever spent before, and no debt diet involved, not to mention the Special Transportation Fund. I mean, giving more money to towns in this or that way is a good conversation to have. But you have to look at the big picture of how the state is being treated. And the one thing people ask us all every day, whether we're Republicans or Democrats, is, I can't afford to live in this state. What are you going to do to fix it? And this budget certainly put us backwards.
Well, one of the things on this is that many of the rating services actually looked in this budget relatively positively. S&P Global in particular said it will improve our bond ratings.
Senate President Martin Looney and House Minority Leader Themis Claridis, we're out of time, but thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Enjoy your summer, or you might be going back to work.
Maybe
Thanks,
an interrupted summer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, the story everyone in Connecticut is talking about, the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos. We will talk with an expert attorney on what the case is, how it goes forward from here. And we welcome your comments on social media. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dennis House TV, or on Facebook at Dennis House 3.